Okay, guys, here's the video I promised you. Um, I'm gonna dig into this. I'm gonna do this organically. I had a bunch of stuff I wanted to. Why are you doing that now? Sorry, I had to download a bunch of stuff from my. I'm working off of my desktop. Hopefully the sound is okay. I had to play with it a little bit, turn the volume down to make me a little bit quieter. Um, so we're gonna go through this organically. I have so that we can search for stuff, and I'm gonna go over here and open up Ken Johnson. We're going to talk about Ken Johnson. What he has on his channel. Okay, start there. He also has a lot of live streams. So we'll start with videos and work through. I'm not going to play anything for copyright reasons, but I am going to show you some stuff because I think this is interesting, especially with the time that we are in. Let's start with Psalm 90:10. Now, basically, what this video is going to be about, and I thought about getting into Daniel 8 in this one, but I have a suspicion I'm not going to have enough time. So we may go back into Daniel 8 at another time because what we're seeing going on, and I'd like to get some news articles together for that one, because we see a lot of stuff going on that seems to be matching that particular prophecy. A prophecy most people say has already been fulfilled, but I disagree because that prophecy is about the Antichrist. Well, the Antichrist hasn't come yet. So evidently it hasn't been fulfilled. And I think we're about to see that happen. I think it's unfolding before our eyes. But let's focus on this. And this is going to be, are we in the end times? Are we there yet? I think we are. So we're going to start with Psalm 90:10. Psalm 90:10 says it, and if we can take this for what it says, which I do, the days of our lives, and this is in the New King James, are 70 years. The average person lives to be about 70 years old. And if by reason of strength they are 80 years, yet their boast is only labor and sorrow. So that 10 years from 70 to 80 is a rough 10 years. For it is soon cut off and we fly away. Now, in the King James, the days of our years are 60 and 10. And if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet is their strength labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off and we fly away. What does that mean by fly away? Let's go into the King James Plus. We fly away is H5774. Oof. A primitive root to cover with wings or obscurity. Hence, a denominative from H5775 to fly, also by implication of dimness, to faint from the darkness of swooning. Brandish, be, wax, faint, flee away, fly away, set, shine forth, interesting, weary. Well, are we not weary? Sure we are. It is soon cut off, goose, probably to shear off, but used only in the figurative sense of passing rapidly. The time is passing. It is soon cut off, quiche, a hurry, hence. Sorrow is aven. Exert oneself, usually in vain. That's kind of what it feels like now, preaching the gospel. So this sounds like Psalm 90:10 is referring to our generation. Now, something interesting to note. This ties in with the fig tree generation. The fig tree generation, if you go back and you do some digging, and I'm going to try to keep this fairly short because I have a suspicion I'm going to have to stop at an unreasonable time. But anyway, in 1948, when Israel became a nation again, the people that were alive then that were Christians, the majority of them, and you can look this up, the majority of them said, this is it. This is the fig tree generation we've read about in the Bible. We've been waiting for this. Even the president at that time, I believe it was Eisenhower, even he knew. Because he said, I'm in the likeness of Cyrus doing this. They did the same thing with Trump when he did the Abraham Accords under his first term. So the old people, and there's still some alive today that will tell you, my grandparents told me this is it. I won't see it in my lifetime, but you'll see it in yours. And they were referencing Psalm 90:10 in this case. So if Psalm 90:10 is an indicator of our generation, and this is basically true, most people live between 70 and 80 years. My mother-in-law died at 66. My dad died at 70, 76, 75, I think. Um, my mom was 72. Most people hit the end of their life between 70 and 80. Some live past that, but that's not the rule of thumb. The majority of people is between 70 and 80. So if we take 70 years as a general lifespan, from 1948 to 2018 is 70 years. We know what happened in 2019. Everybody's like, it's 71st year, rapture's going to happen. I jumped on that bandwagon too because I didn't know any better and I didn't understand. But it became pretty evident fairly quickly that it wasn't going to be in 71 or 72 years. It was going to be probably closer to 80 years that this was going to unfold. Now, a lot of people have, because we've gone past that time, we're still within the 80 years. That's 2028 is when the 80 years will be up. So we're in 2025 now. 2028 is only a couple years away. So a lot of people have already poo-pooed on this and pushed it away and said, no, we were wrong. It doesn't apply to anything. I still think it does. We're still within that time frame. So why do we let it go now? If 2028 is the outside chance of us flying away, and remember, it does say for it is soon cut off and we fly away. Well, would soon be a little less than 80 years? Maybe. And we fly away. We're out of here. So what does it keep talking about is going to happen to the church? Harpazo, snatched away, taken up into the air. And we read this all over the place. Now, I'm not going to focus on the rapture. I'm going to focus on the timing in this video. Because Ken Johnson and Josh Peck have done some research and have come out with a couple of books and some very, very interesting information based on some calendars and some other Dead Sea Scrolls that have recently come to light that have painted a very interesting picture. And they seem to be very accurate. And I try to dig up, I wasn't very prepared because so much stuff has been up in the air lately. I wanted to have a bunch of stuff pulled up, but I want to get this video out, and we may come back and touch on it again. I'll share what I can. And if I find any more resources, I'll put them in the links in the description. So if we're still within that 80-year time frame, but it could be soon cut off, it could come quicker. We're in that time frame. We're literally in that time frame. So 2028 would be 80 years. We're in 2025. We're 2.5 years away, give or take. We're in literally if Psalm 90:10 is to be taken as a part of this, we're literally within the time frame, the season of the removal of the church. Now, there's other proof of this. So let's go over to Ken Johnson and take a look at what he has to say. All right, so Ken Johnson has done a bunch of different videos. Let's see. His live streams have talked more about it. Now, the last couple of videos, I haven't finished watching the Ezra Apocalypse one here yet. I think he was in Q&A on that one. But Elijah, the Prophet in the End Times, this one here is very interesting. I think I shared this one. Jubilee year on the DSS calendar. The DSS calendar is a Dead Sea Scroll calendar. Now, right now, most people accept that the current year from creation is it 5785? Well, in actuality, you can see on the thumbnail on this, when taken into account all the years and all the calculations, we're actually in the year 5950. Now, that puts us in the 120th Jubilee, because if you count backwards from now, if we're in 5950 and count backwards from now, you end up with a Jubilee, a section for Jubilee is 50 years. You get 120 Jubilees. And this is all according to what these guys have shared. I take no credit for any of this. I just read the Bible and tell you what I see in the Bible. And I already figured that between 2025 and 2028 was going to be the time anyway, because it fits the criteria of what Christ did on the cross. Anytime between, technically, anytime between now and 2032. But I figured it would be much earlier than that. And I've been talking about this for like 4 years. So if we're in the last 50 years, now you have to, when you watch Ken's videos, I think he had another one. New Scrolls for 2025 was also a good one. Timeline Prophecy Study. Now I'll link this in the description. Well, was it that one? It might have been that one. I've missed a lot of his videos. This, I highly recommend Ken. Good channel to listen to. Now, interesting, he has a video on the ram and goat prophecy of Daniel 8. Now, he talks about something different in that video, but some of the stuff he talks about, I've shared about what I think in Daniel. So if you haven't yet and you want to look deeper into this, by all means, come over here and check him out. He's a good channel to sub to, and he puts out really good content. It's not the stuff where he's beating you over the head with saying, you have to believe the way I do. He's actually very humble, and he says, this is what the information is, and we're looking at this. And he's one of the foremost guys on these scrolls and these Essene thing for the Essenes. So any videos he has about the Essenes are good videos to watch, because this is where a lot of this stuff has popped up from, is these this Essene calendars, DSS calendar. Also the Didache. This one's got a lot of information in it too. I know there was another one. You'll have to scroll through and see if you can find the videos that talk about this, but there's quite a bit. So basically what it is if the year counts out, which the years count out correctly, and you can't get away from 5950, that's where we're at the moment. The Dead Sea Scroll calendar, the Essenes, who have a 100% accuracy rating, they predicted when Jesus would come down to, I think, the week. They knew the week he was going to arrive, and that's the week he arrived. Every prophecy, they were around. It's thought that John the Baptist was an Essene. It's also rumored or thought Paul may have been an Essene also, or he became one. But after Jesus came, the Essenes basically got absorbed into they became Christians and got absorbed into that, and pretty much didn't put out any more prophecies. There was no need to. Canon was closed at that time. So what they, let me make sure before I go any further, make sure my sound looks like it's working. I haven't recorded on this computer yet. So basically what the Essenes said, what the Dead Sea Scroll calendar said, is that when the 120th Jubilee came, when the last 50 years came, there was going to, and this is what's amazing about this, and I challenge you to go and look this and listen to what he has to say, him and Josh Peck both, but mainly Ken, because Ken's the one that's got most of that information. In the last 50 years is when everything is going to unfold. The rapture of the church, and all the early church fathers, everybody says Darby started the rapture. No, he didn't. Papias, he talks about Papias in his videos. Polycarp, Irenaeus, a bunch of other guys, and I did a video on this a while back. All within the first century, we're talking and teaching about a pre-trib rapture. So Darby did not invent it. It was there in the beginning. We have all the first century fathers' writings, and they're very clear. So this whole Darby stuff is a joke. People aren't doing their research. They're not reading like they're supposed to. Now, the last 50 years, the rapture is going to happen, the tribulation is going to happen, and then the start of the millennial reign is going to happen. Now, you have to keep in mind, and he brings this up in these videos. Again, there's more detail in his videos. I'm not going to have all that detail here. But I wanted to bring this to light and highlight his channel. Even Josh Peck, he talks about it too. I'll link both their channels in the description. I think his channel is Renegade something. Daily Renegade or something like that. I had to look it up. So you have to keep in mind that whenever these events unfold, and this is throughout the Bible, when these events unfold, when these prophecies come to pass, this stuff takes time to fully unfold because the Lord uses means to do his will. So what you may have is a couple of years where everything gets set up for the seals, because the seals have to open first, then the tribulation starts at the seventh seal, which starts the first trumpet. A lot of people say it all happens together. It can't. Otherwise, you'd have the trumpets happening before the trumpets happen, which start in the seventh seal. It's right there in the scriptures. It's very easy to read. So you can have a year or two or three in this last 50 years of a setup for that time frame. Governments changing, a couple of wars, some people brought out of power, some people put into power, different stuff happening, and then you have the rapture of the church. Now, keep in mind, there's going to be a bunch of chaos after the rapture of the church happens. The world has to recover from that. You're not just going to snatch a couple million people, 100 million people out here, 50 million, whatever it is. A lot of people think it's about 50 million. You're not going to have 50 million people get snatched off the earth and have that display of power and it not affect people. The world is going to go into shock. It's going to be horrendous. It may take them a year or two to recover from that. Then you've got the seals. Now, the seals could take up to a year and a half to 2 years, maybe even 3 years to fully unfold. That's a lot of stuff that's got to happen. When you read in the book of Revelation, those seals, that's a lot of stuff. It's not going to happen in 10 hours. It's not going to happen in a week. It's going to be a couple of years or a year and a half or more for that to unfold fully. Because people are going to be moving and stuff's going to be changing and governments are going to be doing this and that. Then you've got the tribulation, which starts. That's 7 years. Then you've got the recovery and the building of after the fact from the tribulation. And the Bible even talks about in the book of Daniel a 45-day period after the tribulation when things unfold. Things start to settle back down again. 45 days of dead time. The Essenes specifically say in the scrolls Ken has, the year 2025, and if you haven't watched this, it'll shock you. The year 2025 is going to be the year of transition into the final Jubilee. Welcome to 2025. And it's been happening. A lot of people are watching this right now. It's amazing what's been happening. They said in their writings. So in this one here, I think I showed this when he's talking about the Jubilee year, happy Jubilee year. We just entered it. I believe it was March 19th that we entered it. Or that was when 19th, yeah. So this was 2 weeks ago prior to March 19th. But March 19th, we officially entered the year 2025 on the other calendar. So we're in it now. We're in the year of Jubilee now. So the year of Jubilee starts that final 50 years. And then his other videos talk much deeper in this, digging into the specific Essene prophecies. Like I said, you got to look through AD 2026, the expansion of Israel. That's part of it too. But you got to look through them, scroll through, and find them according to title. Also, in his video tab, scroll through and look, and you'll find those. There's plenty of them in here. Yeah, Menachem the Essene, that was a good one. This was a good one too. 1 Thessalonians 4:5 in the rapture. Ezekiel 37. Daniel 12, that's a good one. He's been in that one for a little bit now. Age of Ages is a good one. You can see which ones I watched. They're actually really good. So there's a bunch of them. Oh yeah, Eusebius' description of the rapture. Eusebius, first century father, talking about the rapture. There's plenty here. There's more than enough to keep you busy. Oh wait, there was one right there for the... Oh, that's Menachem the Essene. Anyway. So what the Essenes say, and this is just what I drew. I have one of his books here. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. What the Essenes say is that the year 2025 is going to be the year where things start to change. It said after that year, so it'll be about March 2026 for us in our calendar. That'll be the second year of that 50-year final Jubilee. They said that's when governments are going to change. That's when wars are going to happen. That's when all kinds of stuff is going to unfold. And they said it's going to take 50 years. It's going to take the entire 50-year 120th Jubilee for the governments to change, the people that are in power to change to the people that need to be in power. Certain players in the game have to move. Certain wars have to happen. Certain events have to unfold. The rapture of the church has to happen. The seals have to be opened. Then the 7-year tribulation. Then the time of renewal to enter into the millennial reign. And they say in their writings specifically in 2075 is when the millennial reign will start. Now the Essenes, in everything they've ever written, and they have a bunch of their scrolls, they have been 100% accurate because they can go back and look because it's all already happened. Except for the stuff they talk about now in our generation. They've been 100% accurate. They have never been wrong on anything. And there's a lot of players in the Bible they think were Essenes. They think Melchizedek was an Essene. They think the three wise men were Essenes. They think Enoch was an Essene. Elisha. So there's a bunch of guys in the Bible that they have evidence that they seem to think they were all Essenes. And so these guys, these Essenes, were a big player in the game of Bible prophecy and in the history of the Bible all the way through the whole time. The Lord was using them to a great effect. And like I said, you watch his stuff and you'll see it. There's plenty here to keep you busy. I'm just trying to consolidate some of the key information down. Now, this is what the Essenes are saying. And Josh Peck talks about this too. He's actually really excited about this. They're both doing interviews on this. In fact, I'm watching one video now. I haven't finished watching it yet. Of course, it's going to restart now. Yeah, pause that. New Jubilee year today. Dead Sea Scroll prophecies unlocked. And this is Dr. Ken John. This was 7 days ago. So it would have been the 19th that this set came out. I haven't had a chance to finish watching it yet. And they talk about more of that in there. And it's Josh Peck, in fact. Is that his channel? Daily Renegade. Yep, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to link his channel and Ken Johnson's channel in the description of my video here. So they've gone over these scrolls multiple times, and they said the more we look at it, the more it pinpoints. Both of these guys are, they're like, we're convinced. It's so accurate and detailed. We're convinced. So if we take what they say to be true, we're in the last 50 years. We enter the final Jubilee 6 days ago. The first year of the final Jubilee. So in March of next year, that first year will be done, and we'll start the second year of that 50 years. We're in the final 50 years of everything unfolding on earth that has to happen. So all the rest of the prophecies have to happen before the millennial reign, the tribulation, the rapture of the church. Now, let's go back to the Bible. In several of their videos, they brought up Psalm 90:10. And they said, and here's what they said, if I remember correctly, we don't know if this is giving us a specific detail, but I believe, if I remember correctly, I've watched a bunch of their videos, the Essenes mention this. That it's talking about this. So, if that's the case, who text me? If that's the case, and I'm just throwing this out there, guys, you don't have to believe me, and I'm not asking anybody to believe me, but this has got me excited. And it's funny because for like 4 years, I've been saying this, a little over 4 years. I've been saying this. I believe the rapture is going to happen between 2025 and 2032. More specifically, 2025 and 2028. Now, am I setting a date? No, because I don't know. But everything I've looked at has pointed me in that direction. Now, this was before I saw these videos from Ken Johnson and Josh Peck. This is before I saw these videos. When I saw these videos, I was like, are you serious? And this now comes out now. Now, here's the thing: is that Ken is waiting for, I believe it's 3 to 8 other scrolls that have just been come out and been translated, and he's waiting to get his hands on them, and he's going to do videos on them. He says there's lots of good information in there. The Essenes, and also, if we go, let me bring this back down. I believe, yeah, it's the Ezra Apocalypse. There's now this is an extra biblical text, but it very closely matches Scripture, and there's some specifics in here that are scary, shocking, talking about this time frame. If Psalm 90:10 is to be applied to this generation, the fig tree generation, which started in 1948, that means the 80th year will be 2028. If that's an indicator of when the rapture is going to happen, that means the rapture has to happen between right now, today, as we're doing this, and sometime in 2028. Everything I've looked at in the Bible has pointed to the exact same time frame. Because if you go, let's say Jesus was crucified, died, and rose and ascended to heaven in 2032, or in 32 AD. Go forward to 2032. Back up 7 years. What does that put you? Same time frame. Now, that's not even the biggest thing. And I've talked about this in many, many, many videos. But I wanted to reiterate some of these points again with this new information we have from these guys. I have everything I've read in the Bible, everything I've found, everything I've looked at, every single time, like Ecclesiastes. Let's go over to Ecclesiastes. And when I did my playlist on Ecclesiastes, this blew my mind. I actually had to pause the video. It completely blew me away. But everywhere I've found where it sounds like it's talking about a removal of the church, a rapture of the church, a deliverance or redemption of the people, it always seems to be referencing springtime. March, April, May. Watch this. I'm going to read the first 8 verses. Remember now your Creator, Ecclesiastes 12:1. In the days of your youth, before the difficult days come, and the years draw near when you say, I have no pleasure in them. Does that not sound like 70 years, 80, if by strength, but its boast is labor and sorrows? I have no pleasure in this final 10 years. I'm tired of this. Ask yourself, are you not tired of what you see happening? Is it not frustrating? I was literally just talking to Nina before I started this video. We were talking about the same thing. While the sun and the light, the moon and the stars are not darkened. That happens in the beginning of the tribulation and at the end. And the clouds do not return after the rain. The Bible in another place says the day of judgment is a day of thick clouds. In the day when the keepers of the house tremble. That would happen in the tribulation or after the rapture. And the strong men bow down. When the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look through the windows grow dim. Why would that be? Tired of all the fighting? Tired of being attacked? When the doors are shut in the streets, and the sound of grinding is low. So the grinding would be grinding at the mill. Or work. Well, you have a bunch of people who get raptured. That would happen. When one rises up at the sound of a bird and all the daughters of music are brought low. Why would they rise up at the sound of a bird? Is that my loved one that was taken? Also, they are afraid of height. They're afraid of high places. Why? I wonder why. And of terrors in the way. Look at the seals and what the seals say. We'll go look at that in a minute. When the almond tree blossoms. Oops. Almond trees bloom in February and March. March, April, May. Looks like it. The grasshopper is a burden, and desire fails. Is not desire failing? For man goes to his eternal home. Where's our eternal home? Heaven. He goes to his eternal home, and the mourners go out about the streets. Remember your Creator before the silver cord is loose, before you die, or the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the well. You know, we're referred to as bowls and pitchers in other places in the Bible. For man goes to his eternal home, and the mourners go about the streets. If we're raptured, will not the people left behind mourn us and go out into the streets? Sure they will. In fact, I did a video talking about that specifically. How interesting. Now, this is just one place. There's a lot of places I've found, Old and New Testament, where it refers to the exact same time frame. March, April, May, or April, May, June. Because it talks about other plants blooming and stuff like that, and it all is in the exact same set of 3 months when it all unfolds. How interesting. The rapture isn't going to be associated with a feast day, contrary to what a lot of people say. It's a standalone event for a specific purpose for a specific group of people. It has nothing to do with anything else. Christ fulfilled all the spring feasts in his death, burial, and resurrection. He fulfills all the fall ones in his return. The rapture is something all by itself, something completely different, like Psalm 90, or not Psalm 90:10, like Hebrews 9:8 says. So if you haven't seen that yet, Hebrews 9:8, Hebrews 9:28. So Christ was offered once to bear the sins of many. To those who eagerly wait for him, he will appear a second time, apart from sin for salvation. You know, I hear nobody talk about this verse. I mention it constantly in other people's videos. I never hear anybody talk about it. I don't think people know it's there. To those who eagerly wait for him, that's us waiting for him to return, us watching for the rapture, he will appear a second time, apart from sin, which he came for 2,000 years ago, for salvation. At the end of the tribulation, he comes for judgment. This salvation, that's the day of redemption. That's the rapture of the church, right there in Hebrews 9:28. Amazing. Now, let's go to Revelation chapter 6. This is the seals. Now keep in mind, we are in chapter 5. A lot of people don't think this is the case, but there's only 2 places in the whole Bible where this one number comes up. Where's it at? Here it is, verse 11. Then I looked and I heard a voice of many angels around the throne. He looked, but he didn't see who it was, but he heard the voice of angels. In another verse in the New Testament, Jesus says, they shall be like angels. Well, if you have the voice of an angel, you'll be like an angel, wouldn't you? Be similar. The living creatures and the elders, and the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands. In the book of Hebrews, it talks about the general assembly of heaven, and it says that it's an innumerable company of angels. This is a little over 100 million. It's like 106, 7 million, something like that. You can count this. This is innumerable, not innumerable. These aren't angels. That's us. Now, how do we know? Look at the next verse. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power, riches, and wisdom, and strength, and honor, and glory, and blessing. Look what else they say. This group of people. Now, when he had taken the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders, who are a representation of us, fell down before the Lamb, each having a harp and golden bowls of incense, which are the prayers of the saints. And they sang a new song. You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, for you were slain and have redeemed us to God by your blood out of every, knocked over my mic, every tribe, tongue, people, and nation. That's us. We were redeemed by his blood. No one else in history has been redeemed. Only all of us the last 2,000 years. We are in chapter 5. That's the church right there. Because the chapter in Hebrews that talks about the General Assembly puts us in the General Assembly also. So, and I'll show you something else cool here in chapter 12. Now, the seals. Now, look at what these seals are. Now, this goes into what I was talking about, because these seals, this is going to take some time for this to unfold. Revelation 6:1. Now, I saw when a lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures saying with a voice like thunder, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went about conquering and to conquer. A lot of people are divided on who this is. Well, number one thing is it's not Christ. That's not Christ. This guy has a crown given to him. Christ earned his crown. This guy has a bow and no arrows. The Antichrist is going to go conquer. Generally, I think that's the Antichrist. Verse 3. When he opened the second seal, so that's the first seal. How long was that going to take for this guy to go conquer? Well, it's probably going to take some time. He's got to go out there and convince people to follow him. He's got to go out there and conquer them. I heard the second living creature say, "Come and see," and a horse, fiery red, went out. And it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, and that people should kill one another, and there will be given to him a great sword. People are going to be going after each other. Ethnos against ethnos. Nationality against nationality. People all over the world. How long is that going to take? Verse 5. When he opened the third seal, I heard the living creature say, "Come and see." The third living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and wine." That's famine, and that's a crashed economy. How long will that unfold? That's not overnight. That takes time. Weeks, months, years. When he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And the name of him who sat on it was Death, and Hades followed with him. And power was given to them over a fourth of the earth, 1/4 of the entire earth, to kill with sword, with hunger. So with sword, it'll be war and infighting. With hunger, starvation. With death, both those things will kill people. And by the beasts of the earth, the animals are going to be running out of the woods and attacking people. You know, the news doesn't generally show this or report on it, except for local news. But you know how many sightings and interactions people are having with coyotes, wolves, bears, deer, moose, elk in downtown cities, in major metropolis? The animals are already coming out. They're already starting. A lot of this is already being prepared. Verse 9, when he opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. Now, there's already a bunch of people that have been martyred that are there. Stephen was the first martyr under Christ. But there's been a bunch of people over the last 2,000 years that, and there's still people getting added to that number. These are all them. They're all waiting. And they cry with a loud voice, saying, "How long, O Lord, holy and true, until you judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth?" Lord, when's justice going to come? You know, it's okay to pray for justice. They're asking for it. Then a white robe was given to each of them. And it was said to them that they should rest a little while longer, until both the number of their fellow servants and their brethren who would be killed as they were was completed. Not everybody is assigned or designated to be martyred. But there are more people who are going to come that are going to get martyred, and they're going to join them. I looked, verse 12, when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood. And the stars of heaven fell to the earth, as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. This earthquake is going to be so powerful, it's going to cause the earth to shift on its axis. That's why the stars look like they're falling to the earth. That's why the heavens roll up like a scroll. Because it's going to completely disrupt everything. The gravitational field will be disrupted, and so our atmosphere is going to peel back. That's going to be a sight to see. How long is that going to take? How long is it going to take to rebuild from that? Verse 15, and the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave and every free man, every single person on the planet that's still alive, will hide themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains. Why wouldn't they go hide in their houses or in the buildings? Well, maybe because the earthquake was so powerful, it wiped everything out and collapsed everything. Otherwise, they would go hide there. That's what everybody knows. Why'd they go hide in the caves? There are no buildings to hide in. There are no overpasses to hide under. It's all collapsed because that earthquake literally turned the earth over. I bet everybody fell down. I bet nobody will be able to stand. It'll be so violent. This is where you're going to get your tidal waves every hour because they're going to be bouncing all over the earth. And the aftershocks from this are probably going to be pretty bad. They've got to rebuild from that before any commerce can happen or anything else can happen. People got to recover from that. So now that you're seeing these seals, are you starting to get a sense of these seals are going to take some time? That's going to be within this 50 years. It should be more than enough time for that to happen, and still have time for the 7-year tribulation. Verse 16, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. These people, how did they know? If the Bible says that's what they're going to say, that's what they're going to say. How did they know how do they know the tribulation to start? How do they know? Maybe there's some people here today that think they're Christians that aren't, that are familiar with the Bible, that are going to be there and realize, oh no, what do we do? Maybe the people who have been ignoring us will remember the words we told them. We don't know. But they're going to say this. If the Bible says they're going to say it, they're going to say it. For the great day of his wrath has come, and who is able to stand? They know what's happening to them. They are very aware of it. That's amazing. It's amazing. So you could be looking at 3, maybe 6 years, maybe 10 years right here just for the seals. Who knows how long it'll take to recover from all that? And who knows how long it'll take for all that to unfold? Now, the Lord is going to shorten the days, but still, this is going to take time. This isn't something you're going to go in New Year's and then everything falls apart and then everybody recovers by the following New Year's. It won't take 1 year. This is going to take time. You got to rebuild, man. This is big. It's a major event. I mean, if 1/4 of the earth is going to die, 1/4 of the population of the earth, we're over 8 billion people on the earth right now. That's 2 billion people that are going to die. Not counting the rapture. How many are going to go in that? So this is serious, man. So you think, well, 50 years is not enough time. Take off the 7. That's not enough time. Oh, I think it's plenty. And I think this will soak up a big chunk of it. You take off 10, what do you got? 40. Plenty of time for a 7-year tribulation. So like the Essenes said, and like Josh Peck and Ken Johnson talk about, the Essenes said, all that stuff has to take time, and it's going to take that whole 50 years until the millennial reign starts in after 2075. They said between 2025 and 2075, all this will unfold. And the Essenes said that specifically. They named those years and those events specifically. Now here's something cool almost no one talks about. I did see Ty Green put a video up a couple weeks ago or a month ago about this. So this is the woman and the dragon. This is the sign in heaven. Now this happened in 2017. It happened again last year or the year before. Now a great sign appeared in heaven, Revelation 12:1. A woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Then being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. So who right now is giving birth to somebody? Because you see Israel mentioned, but then you see the daughter of Israel. Who's the daughter of Israel? It's not Judah. It's not Jacob. Who's the daughter of Israel? Who would be a product of Israel? Well, our Messiah came out of Israel. And so we are a people that are a mix of Gentiles and Jews coming together to make one people. We would technically be the daughter of Israel. It's just in my view. Israel is with child waiting to give birth. Well, elsewhere it says that it's going to be like nothing but wind comes out. It's going to be it's going to give birth and boom, that's it. It's gone. I wonder why. Well, this chapter tells you why. Verse 3, and another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 diadems on his head. This is a coalition of nations, a 70-nation coalition, which, by the way, was started and activated in 2019, and it was sealed with blood on the Mount of Olives. They let a Gentile sacrifice a goat for this, to commemorate this. The United States is part of this. Now, the 70-nation isn't full yet, but the United States is part of it. His tail drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. That's Satan. This whole thing's run by Satan, because he took 1/3 of the angels with him. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth to devour her child as soon as it was born. Satan, in this last 6 years, has been trying to identify who the true born-again people are. And he can't. because he wants us to die before we're taken. Now, here's what's interesting. Verse 5. She bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. We see that same reference in multiple places in the Bible, and it's always a reference to Christ. And her child was caught up to God and his throne. Interesting. Let me show you something cool. I found this by accident, and I've seen other people start to catch on to it, but just a few. She brought forth a man child. We're in verse 5. It's G5207. Huios. Apparently a primary word, a quote-unquote son. Used very widely of immediate, remote, or figurative kinship. Child, full son. That's Christ. Now, since this is talking about the same child, you would think the second instance of the word child would be the same, but it's not. G5043, this is a different word, teknon. It's from the base of 5098. A child has produced, a child, a daughter, a son. This is a group of people. So we see one reference in verse 5 of a child, but two different words used to reference that child. How interesting. That child, that second child, was G726, harpazoed. To seize, in various applications, catch, away, or up, pluck, pull, take by force. Jesus was not harpazoed to heaven. If you go read the account of it and look at the original language, he was received into heaven. He wasn't harpazoed to heaven. We are the only ones that get harpazoed. That's the rapture right there. The Greek is rapturo, or the Latin rapamir, or something like that. That's the rapture. Unto God and his throne. We go to the throne room. A lot of people don't know this stuff. Then the woman fled into the wilderness. Now that happens at the 3.5 year mark of the tribulation, halfway through. They flee into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God that they should feed her there 1,260 days. That's 3.5 years. So the second half of the tribulation is when the remnant, when you read in Ezekiel, the remnant of Israel, 1/3 of Israel, that's Jacob, because the tribulation is called Jacob's trouble. 1/3 of Israel will be saved. Where does he have a place prepared for him? How funny, at this very moment, and this has been going on for years, and even Saudi Arabia has gotten involved in this. When you go, because there's a fault line through the Mount of Olives, if it splits, it's going to make a path. You follow that and head south. It goes right to Petra. Petra is full of caves. Those caves have generators, fuel, seeds, food. And if you take a trip over to Israel and they take you down to, you've seen it on Indiana Jones, that sandstone building carved out, and they said that's where the Holy Grail was hidden and all that. In the I think it was the Last Crusade. When you take that tour, the guides will tell you, hey, all you Christians, bring your Bibles, put them in Ziploc bags, your notes and everything, and you can hide them there. And so in the cracks of the rocks and buried in the sand and hidden in all these places are all these Bibles. People tear out Isaiah 53. They write notes encouraging them to believe in Jesus. They come to faith and call him Lord while they're down there. How interesting. The Lord has literally prepared it, and you can actually go see where he's prepared it. How interesting. And they're set up enough right now with everything that's already there. You can look all this up. They could stay there for 10 years easily. But they're set up to survive down there. How interesting. So we can see our Lord doing his work right before our very eyes in our own world. And you know, the world at large does not know. That's why I'm sharing it to you. Now, verse 7, and war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. Why? Why was there no place found for them? Because we took their place. So the great dragon was cast out, the serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast down to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Amazing. Incredible. So, what can we make of this? We have a set of prophecies from a people that are 100% accurate across the board. They name specific years of when specific events involving the end times, including the rapture, are going to happen. We have, as of right now, entered the first year of that final 50 years to conclude in 2075 and then going into the millennial reign. The prophecies involving all of the end time scenarios are active right now. Every single one of them. We've never seen a time like this in history, and even the old scholars are like, we've never seen this. And there's times I'll find videos, I'll look in the comments, and there's people down there that are 70s and 80s, and they say, yeah, I was there in 48. I was a kid when it happened. And everybody was like, this is it. The Lord's going to come back. We're in that generation. And they said Psalm 90:10 was it. And they said, we've been watching. I've been watching this whole time. And I can tell you, back then, we didn't have the prophecy we have now at all. This is it. All the old people that are still alive from back then are saying, this is it, y'all. Pay attention. All the old Christians. If Psalm 90:10 is an indicator, that means that the rapture will happen according to this, if this is the case. If we can count on this, and we won't know until it happens for sure. It's going to happen between now and 2028. Most likely earlier. But it looks like this is the best, most specific time it's going to happen. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, oh, here's a high watch time here, here's this date here, here's this date there. Don't listen to these people. I can't give you a date because the Lord specifically told us, I am coming in an hour you do not expect. And he was talking to the apostles. We won't know the day he's going to come. We're not going to be expecting it. Probably something incredible or something terrible is going to be happening, and we're all going to be distracted, and boom, he's going to take us. Now, something interesting. Which video was it? This? No, it wasn't that one. These Ezra ones. Which one? Was it this one? It might have been this one. Ezra says, in this Ezra Apocalypse scroll they have, if it's true, Ezra says, when the trumpet sounds, the last trump for the rapture of the church, the whole world will hear it and everybody will tremble except for the people that are going to go with him. They'll be excited and ready to go. But the whole world is going to hear the trumpet. That's interesting. I find that interesting. Now, real quick, I don't want to get deep into this because I'm probably going to do a different video on it later on, but I want to dip into Daniel real quick. A lot of people tell me I'm wrong on this. I don't think so. Daniel's vision of the ram and the goat. Now, if you go look up where Daniel says he was, that place still exists. The citadel is still there. The river Ulai, it's all still there. It's all in Iran. So this ram, this is a representation of Iran. I was in Shushan, the citadel, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw a vision that I was by the river Ulai. Now, it's interesting that he sees two entities here, and one of them is Christ. And he's very big, he's very giant. Stature of an angel. And in the Bible, they give you, in the book of Revelation, they give you the stature of an angel, and it gives you the measurement, and the measurement comes out to 264 feet tall. And this description seems to sound like that. Let's see if I can find it here. We'll read through a little bit of this. I just want to touch on this because I'm seeing this happen right now. So he's in Iran right now. Then I lifted up my eyes, verse 3, and there, standing beside the river, was a ram which had two horns. And the two horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher one came up last. That's leaders. The horns are leaders. Iran has two leaders. I saw the ram pushing westward, northward, and southward. south to Israel, west towards Iran and maybe Turkey, and north towards Russia, so that no animal could withstand him, nor was there any that could deliver from his hand. But he did according to his will and became great. Iran has been given a lot of money recently, the last 4 years, under our presidency. Not Trump, and the other one. And as I was considering, suddenly a male goat, could that be a scapegoat? Has America not been the scapegoat for Israel? Yeah. Came from the west. America is west of Israel and west of Iran, across the surface of the whole earth without touching the ground. From my military background, that immediately reminds me of an airstrike. A big airstrike, like the one we did on Afghanistan. They were bombing places in Afghanistan from 60,000 feet, from 40,000 feet, from 35,000 feet. You could barely even see the jet up there. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. A notable horn. What's our president's last name? Notable horn? Is it notable Trump? Horn and a Trump, same thing. I'm just saying. I could be wrong. I'm just saying. Then he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing beside the river, and ran at him with furious power. And I saw him confronting the ram. He was moved with rage against him. Has Trump not been making threats against Iran recently? Do you know, since 2023, 22, 23, something like that, Israel and the U.S. have been doing aerial training for a airstrike on Iran. And they're planning on hitting Damascus on the way over. Kid you not. You can look it up and see for yourself. Attacked the ram and broke his two horns. There was no power in the ram to withstand him, but he cast him down to the ground and trampled him, and there was no one that could deliver the ram from his hand. Now, Iran, right now, their armies are in Syria and Lebanon and a few other places. They're surrounding Israel right now. They're not in Iran. Iran couldn't fight a war if they tried to. They don't have any air force to speak of. They, quote unquote, might have a couple of nukes. We don't know. Therefore, the male goat grew very great, but when he became strong, the large horn was broken, and in place of it, four notable ones came up toward the four winds of heaven. Now, a lot of people tell me, well, this tells us this was when the Roman Empire collapsed and broke into four pieces. Here's the thing. This chapter is talking about the Antichrist. So maybe a little bit of it, this part was fulfilled back then when the Roman Empire fell. But it's possible this is a dual fulfillment prophecy. So it started back then, and now it's finishing right now. I don't know. I can't help but see this. And out of one of them came a little horn which grew exceedingly great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the glorious land. Toward the south, well, if this is America, then this would be Mexico. Toward the east, and the glorious land is Israel. But toward the east, it's heading that direction. Are we not about to take over Gaza and make a resort out of it? You know, Ken Johnson talked about, there was a prophecy where they were talking about there's a place in Gaza where the school of the prophets used to meet and teach and talk. And he said that when the end came, they were going to be meeting there again. People would be meeting there again. They're about to take over Gaza and turn it into a resort. He's talking about building another version of Mar-a-Lago over there. Could that be happening? I don't know. A lot of information. It's very hard to keep up with. And it grew up to the host of heaven, this little horn, and it cast down some of the host and some of the stars to the ground. You know, there's only one other entity that's done that. One other entity. Cast a third of the stars to the ground, a third of the angels, Satan, and trampled them. He even exalted himself as high as the prince of the host. This is this little horn. He even exalted himself as high as the prince of the host. That's Christ. And by him, the daily sacrifices were taken away, and the place of the sanctuary was cast down. That happens at the midway point of the tribulation. Because of transgression An army was given over to the horn to oppose the daily sacrifices, and he cast truth down to the ground. He did all this and prospered. That's the Antichrist. Then I heard the Holy One speaking, and other Holy Ones said to that certain one who was speaking, how long will the vision be concerning the daily sacrifices and the transgression of desolation? The giving of both the sanctuary and the host to be trampled underfoot. And he said to me, for 2,300 days, then the sanctuary shall be cleansed. That's going to be at the end of the tribulation. Now, you don't have to guess what this is. It actually gives the interpretation of this. Verse 15, then it happened when I, Daniel, had seen the vision and was seeking the meaning, because Daniel had no clue what he was looking at, that suddenly there stood before me one having the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Ulai, who called and said, Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. It's Jesus. Verse 17, so he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell on my face. But he said to me, understand, son of man. Interesting, he calls Daniel that the vision refers to the time of the end. This did not happen in the Roman Empire. Some of it may have been fulfilled in a loose way back then, but that wasn't the ultimate fulfillment. I think that's now, because it tells you it's the time of the end. Well, the end didn't happen back then. It's now. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep with my face to the ground, but he touched me and stood me upright. And he said, look, I'm making known to you what shall happen in the latter time of the indignation. What's the indignation? Is there a verse that says, hide yourselves, shut your doors and hide yourselves till the indignation is past? It's the tribulation. For at the appointed time, the end shall be. Again, and I share this because going back into what we first talked about, if we're in the last 50 years, the 7-year tribulation is going to happen in this last 50 years. We're in the shadow of it. The appointed time, the end shall be. It's all about to happen. The ram which you saw having 2 horns, they are the kings of Media and Persia. That's literally Iran and Turkey, and a couple other smaller nations. I think a bunch of the stands fall in there from the original thing. But Media and Persia is basically Iran. And the male goat is the kingdom of Greece. Now, here's something interesting about this you have to pay attention to. A lot of people don't see this. They say, oh, Greece, we'll see it's Greece. Greece does not have that good of an army. They don't have anything of an air force. And Greece isn't even it's not even the right area going west away from Iran. They're like next door to them. So how are they going to go across the whole earth? That don't make no sense. They just jump over the border. Look on the map, you can see they're like right there. They don't have a big army. How are they supposed to attack this place and do this? It's impossible. Well, if you go into the King James and look at that same verse, let's see here. And Medium Persia. In the King James, it says Grecia. 8 is Hebrew 31:20. Whoops. Yavan. Probably from the same as H3196, effervescing, that is hot and active. That could describe our country. Havan, the name of the son of Joktan, and the race of the Ionians, that is the Greeks, descended from him. So it's not the Greeks, it's descendants of the Greeks and their territory, also of a place in Arabia. It's interesting to note that during that time when the Roman Empire, and guys, I've done tons of research on this. I've done a bunch of videos on this in the past. That's why I have over 5,000 videos on my channel. It's interesting to note that when the Roman Empire was going, it was called the Ottoman Empire. America and Canada and part of Mexico was considered part of the Ottoman Empire at that time. So it would have been their territory, their Greek territory. Our laws here in this country are based on Greco-Roman lawmaking. Our architecture in our capitals are based on Greco-Roman architecture. Explain that to me. That sounds to me like Grecian territory or something descended from Greece. All our stuff that we have comes from that. It's all based on that. So I'm not convinced this is Greece. I think it may be talking about other entities. Now, it could be this Arabia thing. I don't know. It's just a place in Arabia, but there's not much in Arabia. So where's this vast army going to come across the earth, not touching the ground, in what sounds like an airstrike? I don't know. Let's see. And the male goat is the kingdom of Greece. The large horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now, this is cool. If you go do a study on every nation in the world and when they had kings, there is only one nation in the entire world that has never had a king. Guess who that is? America. America's never had a king. Now, before America was formed as an official nation, Britain was over us, so the king at that time would be over us, but we ran them out and said, no, we're going to be free people. We've never had a king, ever. Now, I can go and I can bring it all up and Google it. There's tons of images. You seen back when Trump was first ran and made president, how they referred to him as King Trump? They're doing it again. They're calling him King Trump. He's acting right now because of all the things he's doing, and it may get worse than this. But he's starting to act like he's in the office of a monarchy, which would be a king. It may get worse. He may change a whole bunch more stuff, and it may turn us into a monarchy. Don't be surprised if it happens. We're at the end of our run anyway, so our 250th birthday is next year as a nation. Now, they did this with Biden too, but not as much as Trump. Donald Trump, this is February 20th of this year, calls himself a king as White House shares, what is that, fake something. Long live King Trump. Trump adds king rhetoric to actions that critics say it probably exceeds his power. Declares himself king. I don't know if he's actually doing that or not. What the founding fathers said about monarchy. And there's tons. You can keep Googling it, and there's tons of stuff. Look at the images. And this is from his first presidency and now. As funny as people are happy to have it that way. Well, I find that interesting. That the only nation in the world that has never had a king, and Daniel 8:21 says, the large horn that is between its eyes is the first king. It's that nation's first king. Wow. Could it be pointing to us? Maybe. Verse 22. As for the broken horn and the four that stood up in his place, the four kingdoms shall arise out of that nation. Now, when the Roman Empire fell, that happened. But nothing happened. None of this other stuff happened after that. It stopped right there. But not with its power. You know, since 2010, as far back as I know of, we have already had actually before that, we have already had our borders drawn for the America to break up into 4 or 5 chunks with new states made. Texas alone, they've already got all their state lines drawn, all their documents brought up, new constitution and everything ready to go into action if we ever succeed from the country. You know, we have all the bottom states and the bottom half of California that are going to leave with us. They've all signed on. Many states have put up articles of succession under Obama and Biden. Many of those states were sued by Obama. Some of them were sued by Biden. They were all stonewalled. Our country has been ready for the better part of 10 years, maybe closer to 20, to succeed and break apart into 4 or 5 pieces. They've been heavily talking about it when Biden was president, heavily. Some people, and I tell you this because I've seen it, some people are already moving to the states they want to live in if the country does break apart. That's how sure they are that this is going to happen. Could we break into 4 pieces? We sure could. But we won't have the same power that we have. Verse 23, and in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors have reached their fullness, A king shall arise having fierce features who understands sinister schemes. Now, I have a theory on this just from my own research. Personally, I think the highest possible candidate, and we'll never know because we'll be gone before he reveals himself, because the restrainer is holding him back. That's the Holy Spirit. He can't be revealed until that time. Personally think it's Jared Kushner. And a lot of people say, well, he has to fit this certain criteria. Here's the thing. All the criteria they give, he fits. Especially where he comes from and where his family comes from. His nationality. He fits. Netanyahu is on video. I saw the video in 2019 saying, we'll give you the keys and you can have Israel and run this country. You can be prime minister forever. But Jared Kushner said he wouldn't do it. They're ready to give him the power. They said that the Antichrist is going to be Armenian. If you go look at where Jared Kushner's family comes from, it's in the old country of the old Roman Empire, old country of Armenian descent. So, I mean, he fits a lot of the categories. And that's just me. I'm probably wrong. That's just me. I think he's a good candidate. And the dude has some fierce features. And he understands sinister schemes. You know, he's the one that actually penned and was the architect of the entire Abraham Accords. And he's also the one, Trump didn't do nothing. He went to all those nations and is still going to those nations and getting them gathered together to join together. They're all friends with, to come together and join these Abraham Accords. All of them. Interesting. Verse 24, his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy fearfully and shall prosper and thrive. He shall destroy the mighty and also the holy people. Through his cunning he shall cause deceit to prosper in his rule, and he shall exalt himself in his heart. He shall destroy many in their prosperity. All these people, these rich people that are siding with the Antichrist, that think they're good. Oh, we got this in the bag. When he takes power, we're all going to be. No, he's going to break them down and put them down with everybody else too. He's going to take all their money and power away and put them down in the dirt with everyone else. He shall even rise against the prince of princes. That's Jesus Christ. But he shall be broken without human means. And the vision of the evening and the mornings, which was told, is true. Therefore seal up the vision, for it refers to many days in the future. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick for days. Afterward I arose and went about the king's business. I was astonished by the vision, but no one understood it. It's because it wasn't for his time, it's for ours. Incredible stuff. I kept you guys longer than I originally intended, but there's a lot of information here. So here's my conclusion. And this is just me. Do your own research as best you can. And I've been doing this for almost 6.5 years. And I've dug into this stuff deeply. And it still blows my mind. Here's my conclusion. Psalm 90:10 is telling us a generation. Generation is marked by the development or the bringing about of Israel back to being a nation. Israel is the only nation in the history of the world, of all human history, that has ever come back after over 1,800 years of exile with its original language to its original land. That's God-driven. That clock started in 1948. May of 1948. In 2028, 80 years will be fulfilled. So anything that's going to happen is going to happen in this next 2.5, 3 years. As far as probably the rapture goes. Because it talks about we fly away. I mean, why would it say we fly away? Why would it say that? That doesn't make any sense. For it is soon cut off when we fly away. Where are we flying to? Flying to heaven. To me, that's rapture. I'm just being honest. That's what I think. If the Essenes are to be believed, and they have been very accurate on everything else, because they've gone and they've looked at everything else they've ever predicted, and every single bit of it was exactly right. They named the specific years, the year of 2025, as the transition year to the final Jubilee. We are now in that year. Said 2026 is going to start everything off, and everything's going to start to roll very quickly, and you'll have that 50 years where everything is going to unfold. The rapture of the church, the seals that Jesus opens after we get up there, because we're going to watch him open those seals. Then the trumpet sounds, and then you have all the bowls and the vials that happen within that. So that's the 7-year tribulation. And you have all the destruction and all the rebuilding and all the wars and all the fighting and all the death and all everything that's going to happen all in between that. All of that could fit in a 50-year time frame very easily. I've been alive for 53 years. I've seen a lot happen in the last 50 years. So if this is the final 50 years and 2075 is the end of it, yeah, it can all fit in there very easily. But we will be taken first. Now, how it's going to unfold and how it's going to balance out, no clue. But right now, the main thing I'm focused on is what are we looking at? In my very, very humble and unlearned opinion, the rapture looks like the most likely path is going to happen in the next couple of years. This year, next year, the year after, maybe the year after, because that will be the 80 years from Psalm 90:10. And I'm just throwing that out there. And like I said, there's a lot more information. I mean, I could do a 3 or 4 hour video easily with all the information there is. I would have tabs. If you look at the top of my screen, I have tabs all the way across that thing. My computer would slow down because there'd be so many tabs open because there's so much information. But you can dig this stuff up yourself very easily on the Times of Israel. There's a bunch of stuff back from 2019, 2020, 2021 articles talking about this stuff. They have the videos there you can watch of all these things unfolding that I told you about. We can't get away from these prophecies. We can't. And for me personally, what started in 2018, December of 2018, under Hanukkah, when I was shaken violently awake, and then 2019 starting this ministry, it has been a roller coaster ride ever since. And the more I look and the more I see and the more the Lord opens my understanding, the more this stuff jumps off the page and points to right now. Now is the time. We need to be ready. We need to be watching. That's why I've been so adamant about we need to be reading our Bibles. We need to be staying focused, stay faithful. Don't give up now. Don't turn away now. Don't look away now. If we do, we're going to miss so much. We are a chosen generation. This is such an amazing time to be alive. We were chosen for this time, to be awake now, to be saved now, to be seeing these things now. Even the people that are unbelievers were chosen for this generation to be here and to witness these things. You know what they're going to see in the tribulation? And many of them will come to faith. Amazing. And a lot of people are struggling with whether we're actually there or not. I asked the Lord. I've asked him many times, Lord, have we gotten this wrong? If we have, Lord, prove it. That way we quit talking about it and just spend the time glorifying you. Every single time I ask him, literally just within a day or two, he shows, confirms we're there. And he says, the signs in the sun, moon, and stars. Since 2017, have we not seen the signs in the sun, moon, and stars? Oh, and I got good timing. My wife just got home. Dogs are about to get loud. Okay, so do with this information what you will. I have a ton of other videos on this. You just got to scroll through and look at them. Covering this stuff in vast detail. So many things are happening. So much is going on out there. You just can't get away from it. You can't escape it. Brothers and sisters, we're there. And literally, it looks like we're about to bounce out of here in literally the next few years. Anytime between now and 2028. Spring of 2028. We'll know when we get there. We'll know for sure. If I'm wrong, in June of 2028, I will come back and do a video and apologize profusely to everybody and beg your forgiveness because I was so wrong and told people wrong. But I'm not making a claim as if it's set in stone. I'm just saying this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. But if I'm wrong and we go past that, I will come back at that time and I will do an apology video 100%. But I don't think we're going to be here for that. I think we're going to be standing with our Lord in glory, seeing him as he is and being like him. I love you all very much. I bless you all in Jesus' name. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.